All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Let me know if you can hear and or see both Keean and I in the chat there. How are our audio levels? How are you all feeling tonight? There's like a 3-second delay, so forgive the awkward silence. I see a thumbs up. I see hellos. Late as usual, of course, always. All right, so tonight we have the wonderful Keean Bexte. Bexte.
Wow, oh my God, how long has it been? Keean
What is
Bexte,
your last
ladies and
name?
gentlemen. Keean
Keean.
Bexte.
I'm
There we
sorry.
go.
Every celebrity, every journalist, all these people who have, public identities, they always change their name. You're just going to have to pick another one, okay? It's too hard to
That's fair. That's
pronounce.
fair. I
All right.
honestly, I thought about it at the start of things. It was just too hard.
What would be your go-to, like, replacement last name?
Replacement last name. That's a good question. I'd have to I don't know, maybe like something like Anglo as hell, like McDonald or something.
I feel like you'd really suit McDonald. I like
Yeah,
that. All right.
yeah.
Welcome. Keean McDonald here with the counter signal. You have been on the campaign trail stalking our
hmm
good friend Pierre. Tell us what's been up with you. Where are you in
Yes.
Canada right now?
I am currently in Alberta. It's where Pierre is as well. I was at his campaign rally in Calgary just 2 days ago. Over 8,000 people there, maybe almost 10,000 people were there. Officially registered 8,000. It was huge. It was causing traffic. I don't know if you've ever been to Calgary, but it caused traffic on the ring road of the city because he held it at a venue at Spruce Meadows outside of the city, and it caused traffic like in the quarter of the city because so many people were trying to get to it, and people have forgotten how to drive in traffic during the pandemic. So legitimately caused the largest traffic jam Calgary's seen since probably the Stampede. It was nuts. Never seen anything like it, at least in Canada. I've been to a Trump rally in the States that was, bigger, but in Canada, nothing has come close to how big this rally was.
Okay, and like just to give a picture for Americans watching, the French are typically like the bane of Western Canada. So like to have a French politician doing that is pretty impressive. But what actually for our American viewers, who is Pierre? Who is this strange man you speak of that is reinvigorating a sense of
Yeah.
nationalism and populism in Canada?
Yeah, many people say he is
And how do you pronounce
French.
his last name?
Polyev.
Polyev. Okay.
Polyev. Many people say he's French. He's actually not. He was adopted by a Saskatchewaner slash like a French Saskatchewaner family when he was a
Okay, it
child.
all adds up now.
But he was raised in Calgary, so he wasn't even raised in Quebec. He just has sort of this French last name, but he's actually a very Anglo fellow. But he was raised in Calgary. Nevertheless, when it comes to Canada, he's not a Quebecer, although he does represent a riding near Quebec in Ottawa. So he's got this confusing past. But the reason why he's reinvigorating this sort of populism is because he's going hard against like everything that is sensitive right now. He's hitting the vaccine mandates. He wants to stop them. He wants to stop the money printers at the central bank. He's really bullish on cryptocurrency and finding ways to get that sort of integrated in the Canadian economy. He's talking about a lot of things that most people are not, except for maybe Maxime Bernier. But the fact that he is running for basically the Republican Party of Canada, which, I mean, take that as you will. It's Canada. It's not really. It's closer to the Democrat Party, but it's our Republican Party.
Yeah.
And it's opening a lot of eyes. And his competition is this Trudeau friend named Jean Charest. He's a leftist. He's a liberal. He literally was the liberal premier of Quebec. And now he's running to lead the Conservative Party of Canada, fighting against Pierre Poilievre, and he's bringing like a couple dozen people out to his rallies. Half of those people are usually journalists in the mainstream media. They're giving him all kinds of coverage, just like they were giving Biden to prop up his campaign. But at the end of the day, the rallies speak for themselves and the turnout speaks for themselves. 8,000 people, almost 10,000 people at a rally in Calgary when the vote isn't actually for like another 5 months. It's unheard of in this country.
Yeah. So what? Actually, I'll make a comment on that. Were you in BC at his rallies in Langley? by
I was not.
chance?
I was not there. I heard they were massive, but also people were frustrated that he was checking vaccine cards at the door. Is what I heard.
Oh, really? That is interesting for him because he was really pushing back on the mandates. But
Yeah.
yeah, I used to work at the place he had when I was like a kid, when I was like 17, 18. I worked at the place he held his rally, the Langley Events Center. Um, and it was like a government job. They promised they'd have like 30,000 jobs or something that they'd create through the government. And these were some of those government jobs they promised they'd create. So they had literally invented a job at that event center of like an elevator button clicker just to fulfill that government mandate. And that was the
Amazing.
job I was assigned with. Do you want to guess how many floors this event center had?
3.
3. And
Wow.
no one ever took the exit I was in. And when you were in the elevator for more than 5 minutes, just standing there, the lights would shut off. So I'd have like maybe 3 people come in and I'd ask them which floor they wanted to go to and then just hit like floor 2. And then I'd stand in the dark in a tiny little elevator for like 8 hours.
That's actually horrifying. There's
That
probably
is-
no cell reception in there either, so
Nope,
you're just
there
like in
wasn't.
this box. Oh my god, that sounds awful.
Welcome to government job creation, my friends. I didn't last long there. I was losing my mind. But anyways, the fact that he packed like, Langley Event Center type area, that's
Mhm.
I've never seen a politician do that in BC anyways. So that was really wild, especially, it is Bible Belt, but still, like, no one's out here getting hyped going to conservative campaign
Yeah.
rallies. They're just kind of like, guess I'll vote conservative. That's been the energy in Canada. So that's really, really interesting. A lot going on here. Do you think that he has a genuine, I keep going to say his name and I'm like, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I'll just call him Pierre. Do you
You're
think
so
he
bad
has,
with names.
I
You're
am
so bad with names.
the worst.
Lauren Southern. That's what I'm going to call you from
All
now.
right, close enough. You know what? People call me Laura, like on my channel, when you can
Wow.
see my name there. They're like, great
Yeah.
video, Laura. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right,
Yeah.
you know what? But yeah, do you think he has a shot at winning? Like, what's the polling showing right now for the candidates?
Yeah, polling says Pierre is in the lead by a wide margin. So he's something like 48% at the last poll of members, Conservative Party members, which are the only people that are eligible to vote in this particular race. 48% support Pierre. Then John Charest somewhere maybe around 10. I don't know. It's plus or minus 2. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's low. Pierre Poilievre has quadruple, if not quintuple, the support of Jean Charest. So it's really, I mean, it's his race to lose, and the mainstream media are doing everything that they can to make that happen. Just if you watch a day of the CBC, if they're not fully performing fellatio for Justin Trudeau, they are supporting Jean Charest as much as they can.
Right. Okay, interesting. And what are there any other observations just on the campaign trail before I jump into this next topic that you wanted to bring up? Are you going to be following more on the ground over these coming months?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone wants to go check out what we're doing, they can go to conservativecoverage.ca. That's where all of our coverage of the campaign is aggregated at. It's much more interesting to read than the CBC. So if they have some time, they can go there and check
I
that
also
out.
put your links down in the description below.
Yeah,
People wanna
awesome.
go there.
Okay, yeah, it's conservativecoverage.ca. There's this interesting dynamic with Pierre as well as Leslyn Lewis. She's like this. She's this Black Canadian, hardcore social conservative and and she's pro freedom. She doesn't, she doesn't scream social conservative, but she was the one on the front line saying that, she's pro life for one. For two, she was on the front lines of the fight against the mandates. Before it was a popular thing to do, she was fighting for people who were unvaccinated and the government was encroaching on their rights. She was there fighting for them. So she is fighting against. She's running in this race against Pierre Poilievre. But at the end of the day, they're very similar people. So I wouldn't be surprised, even though she's pulling quite large rallies. She's definitely doesn't have the same support that Pierre does. I wouldn't be surprised if she dropped out and endorsed Pierre and had a serious position in government if Pierre ever does form a government and beats Trudeau. So that's definitely the interesting thing of the race is that there's two really great candidates. and they're
At
fighting for the
last.
same
Oh my gosh, the
constituency.
Conservative
Yeah.
Party having a decent candidate. I'm not sure it's
Hmm.
possible. They're both going to
Yeah.
die before the election. And otherwise, it's like we've
Yeah.
entered another universe because I didn't think the
Yeah.
Conservatives were capable. But okay, we've got a few other Canadian stories I want to cover before we get into your best friend, Elon Musk, who you two have been talking, for
Yeah.
ages
Very based.
privately about everything.
Hmm.
But I had a bunch of people messaging me in my subscribe star asking about what's going on with the truckers. What are the updates? They were the biggest thing in media worldwide for months, ages. Then Putin had to take all the attention. He's such a diva. Oh my goodness. Um, that's bad. All right. But what has happened with the truckers? What is going on with the, lawsuits, the social media bans? Are there people still in jail? What are the updates in Canada?
Yeah. So there are still lots of people in jail, actually, even though the mainstream media is not really talking about it. There's a fellow by the name of Patrick King. He wasn't really a convoy organizer. He was just a very loud person within the convoy, and he was arrested for like a huge amount of charges. He sort of stands separate from everyone else in the convoy because he was not officially involved. He sort of raises trouble, and has this sort of like weird cult following behind him in Canada, among the like
His name is Patrick King, you said?
Patrick King. Yeah, there was this like huge fake news story that he was suing the Alberta government and single-handedly ended mandates in Alberta. It was totally fabricated by him,
Hmm.
and was not true at all. But it sort of generated this cult following for him, and it's caused a lot of
I
people to
think I
have a
heard
lot of
that
sympathy
story.
for him. Yeah. A lot of people are upset that he's in jail. I don't know how credible the charges are, but I know that the one thing that was not credible at all was the main charges against people like Tamara Litch, and I don't think Benjamin Dichter was charged with anything. But Tamara Litch, she was the main convoy organizer. She's now back home in Medicine Hat, and she's off on bail after being in jail for a very long time. A Trudeau judge denied her bail over and over and over again, and then she appealed. And then she was granted bail by a level-headed judge, but she was sent home to Medicine Hat. She had to drive back across the country because she's not allowed on a plane in Trudeau's tyrannical Canada. And she's actually not allowed to participate in protests. She's not allowed to do a lot of things, which is like, for someone who has not been found guilty of a crime, is a pretty shocking thing to deny a Canadian. This is
That
supposedly a
is
free country. If this
wild.
happened in America, people would be furious. You're not allowed to participate in a protest. What kind of country is this? Why is that any? Uh, why is that considered remotely suitable of a punishment? It's just so wrong. She's such a gentle, kind woman too. Like, she's not a risk. She's not a violent person. She's not a terrorist, as Trudeau would tell you. She's just this like 5 foot nothing 40-year-old woman from Medicine Hat that really didn't like Trudeau and really didn't like what Trudeau was doing. And because she was vocal about it and managed to create this global movement, they banned her from protests, which is just insane. So we're going to be following along with that, of course, with our coverage, because it's outrageous what they're doing to her and a lot of the other organizers.
So when's her like court dates? When are those
I don't,
coming up?
I, yeah, I
You,
don't have that off the
you don't,
top of my
okay.
head. It's very slow, though. That was the main
Yeah.
problem and why they were held in jail for a long time, because the courts in Ontario, I don't know if they're just, if it's just a crime-ridden province or what, if they've just failed to appoint judges. I don't know what's going on, but it's taken a long time just to hear, just to like set court dates. So when it actually happens, it's going to be a long ways down the road, which is a long time to deny someone their basic human right to protest. It is
Yeah.
a human right uh, to engage in free assembly, free speech, to practice those things that we value in a democracy, supposedly, according to Trudeau. To deny someone that for months, if not years, it's shocking and it's appalling.
Yeah, well, I definitely like to understand like the legal justification behind that. That's, I guess, while there's pending cases in a lot of situations, like people can't have firearms licenses and stuff until they wrap up, but that
Mm.
does certainly seem like an impeding of very basic rights in the
Yeah.
Constitution, the Charter. Okay, so the last story, and I'm not sure if you have too many thoughts on this about Canada before we move on to Musk, is the banning of rebel media from reporting, from having their license. This was someone asked me about this in my Subscribestar chat as well. And for people that are super chatting questions, I will get to you. I'll definitely answer all of them at the end. And if I see one that I think is an interesting topic, I will bring it up in our conversation. But apparently Rebel Media had their, what is it called, Keean?
It's qualified journalist outlet. In Canada, there's this program that the government will basically, after a panel reviews your content, they'll say, yeah, you're a qualified journalist outlet, and then they'll give you a bunch of perks, and they'll and it's interfering with it's intertwining with a lot of current legislation that they're pushing, including how journalism outlets are rated on YouTube, so or on Google or on Facebook, whatever it is. If Justin Trudeau says, yeah, you're this great journalism outlet, and hint hint, it has nothing to do with the quality of your journalism, it has to do with whether or not you support Justin Trudeau, that is absolutely the case. They're denying, like they said that Rebel News is only 1% journalistic in nature. I don't know what that means. I don't know how they came to that number. Obviously it's false. I mean, they're opinionated, sure, they're heavy on the editorial, fine, but that doesn't mean it's not journalism at all. Saying it's 1% is a huge reach, right? They are a journalism outlet, whether Trudeau wants them to be or not, and obviously his bureaucrats that he's put on this committee to decide if they are or not, they said no, just to basically piss off Ezra and Rebel, and it's working, obviously. I don't really know the program very well, what it does. I know that there's some sort of exemption for not donations, but like subscriptions. I believe it makes some subscription fees tax exempt on the consumer side. I don't know what it is, but if Global News is allowed to have it, if CTV is allowed to have it, Rebel News should be allowed to have it. If I applied to it, I would want to have it too. There's no reason why it should be filtered based on ideology, and that's what they're doing.
Well, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Like, for me, obviously, I'm no fan of Trudeau or his government, but I was looking into this because I'm like, man, a journalism license, like I don't have one of those. Damn, am I in trouble in Canada, right? So I did a bit of just kind of digging to see what was going on, like why they had it revoked. And from my understanding, Rebel didn't actually have one in the first place, and it's not actually a license. It's something from the Canadian Revenue Agency. So that's like Canada's IRS, right? Nobody likes them, obviously, but that's beside the point. They determine the status of like your company, your corporation, charity, whatever it is. And there is a certain status under, it's the QCJO. So it's your qualified journalistic status. And you can only qualify under it if you match like a very specific set of standards, one of them being like it has to be like news reporting, it can't be like opinion pieces or anything. So like that much I could understand like the CRA looking at it and being like, okay, the majority of this is opinion pieces, which Rebel absolutely is majority opinion pieces. And it wasn't revoked or anything. It doesn't prevent you from going to press conferences or from doing journalism. So I think that's a bit blown out of proportion. But what got me was I was reading this and I was like, okay, it's a bit more nuanced than just like Trudeau saying you're not allowed to report journalism. It's like a tax status exemption that most people wouldn't qualify for, that, they only applied for last year. But then I saw that the effing narwhal had this status, that they got the QCJO designation, which gives you, certain tax perks. And I was like, wait, how is the narwhal getting this? If you don't know the narwhal in Canada, people, they're like so obviously left-wing, just like fiction writing.
It's so bad. Like it's
so bad.
Imagine everything that has ever been thrown at any right-wing outlet, saying they're like fake news propaganda. This is like the definition of it, and I don't know where they get their money, but it's probably actually I don't need any more defamation lawsuits. I don't know where they get their money. I'd be curious to find out where it came from.
Well, you know how I remembered them, because they're pretty irrelevant, but I only remember them because they specifically paid someone to go on the Rebel Media cruise years ago just to listen over conversations like at the bars and write little gossip pieces as if that's like super important journalism the Canadian people need to hear. Yeah, it's like TMZ. So to me, if they're saying like, okay, we have a tax exemption status for places that are just reporting like news people need to hear, you know, going into parliament, reporting on the sessions, straight facts, like no opinion, no bias left or right. That literally completely makes sense to me. Actually, the reasoning for not allowing Rebel to have this makes sense to me, but then I see Narwhal has it, and it's like, all right, well, great job, guys. Like, your reasoning has gone out the window.
Yeah. Which is why it makes me think like it's totally ideological. It's because the federal government has massive anger issues when it comes to Ezra and Rebel News. They just can't control themselves. It's like this like passionate hatred that is unrivaled by anything. And Ezra's so good at just at finding these things and making the government look like idiots. And it's unfair, I think, that they don't get it if the Narwhal can get it. Frankly, though, I don't think anyone should get it. I don't think the government should be giving tax breaks for industry. I think that it's just like giving Bombardier bailouts or the oil sands bailouts. I don't think the government should give sort of money or direct the economy in any way at all. That's just what I think. But if the Narwhal gets it, if Global News gets it, Rebel News should get it. If I wanted to apply for it, I should get it too. And it's a load of hooey that the government's bureaucrats, who I'll note, and I saw this on Tucker last night, it's just completely behind closed doors. There's no review process. It's not in the open. There's no way for them to see why they made the decisions that they did or appeal it. It's just behind closed doors, and the government just gets to decide that. So I think that's just it's infuriating to see my tax dollars go to the Narwhal, or at least not collect tax dollars from the Narwhal, and Rebel News gets singled out. They provide a useful service to some Canadians who follow Rebel News. A lot of them follow us as well, and I think that they deserve the same access to this as anyone else.
Yeah. Okay, so next topic, Elon Musk, your dear friend. How did you and Elon Musk first meet and become best friends?
It was on Twitter. We were talking about truckers. It was after someone donated like $42,000 or something to the truckers. Like, it was a huge amount of money. And Elon Musk, like he loves 420, he loves 69, the numbers. And that's actually, I just realized a couple hours ago, when he offered to take Twitter private, he offered $52.40 a share. So it's 420. It's pretty funny. So we saw this number, 42,000.
How very supportive of Canadians and our culture.
Yeah, I know. He actually like has a lot of ties to Canadians, and also his I'm just going in so many directions right now, but his ex-wife's
having a bit of 420
mom,
before this interview, eh?
Yeah, maybe I should. His ex-wife's mom is actually like this. I got to pull up her name, but it's she works for an outlet like the Narwhal. It's not the Narwhal, but it's close to it. So he has a lot of ties to Canada. Anyways, we talked. He responded to me on Twitter to let me know that he totally didn't donate $42,000. It must have came from some other mega billionaire who just hilariously had to pick that number. But that's how we got talking. It exploded my Twitter for like 4 days. It just made it unusable. And yeah, it was pretty good. With the fact that he wants to take Twitter private, though, it's just absolutely hilarious to me. But there's going to be this huge problem that he's going to deal with if he did manage to get 100% of the company or a majority stake in it. He's going to have to deal with these activist employees. Like, it's not the CEO of Twitter. It wasn't Jack that.
Well, who's the new guy? It's not Jack anymore.
Yeah, it's a Prague or something. I don't know. But yeah. It's not the CEO that's caused Twitter to become this hellish
well, the new CEO,
tool, right?
Paraj Agrawal, and I absolutely pronounced that wrong. But you know what, people? I pronounce white names wrong. I pronounce my own name wrong. So you can't accuse me of any sort of cultural misunderstanding. I misunderstand all your cultures equally. But the new CEO, he did have some woke posts when he initially joined up. And people were pretty concerned about that, but he actually has seemed pretty, warm to the idea of Elon Musk joining and having different perspectives. Yet they still announced this board meeting, I believe it was yesterday, just to discuss the crisis of Elon Musk potentially joining Twitter because they had so many employees freaking out.
Yeah, the employees are just losing their mind.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall in those offices.
Like they'll actually walk out if it's not some other sort of sabotage. They will walk out on Elon if he owns a company, which I don't know what's better, probably walking out actually, because then you could just replace it with competent people. And there's a lot of competent conservatives in the tech sector. It's just for some reason the human resources department of these mega rich, huge Silicon Valley companies have promoted these incessant whiny losers to top jobs, top posts in their justice and gender equity departments, that have caused it to become this like cancel culture tool. So maybe them walking out is a good thing. Elon, I'm sure, could replace them pretty quick.
Yeah, then you don't even have to pay them for, unemployment and all of this. Awesome.
Hmm.
Let them have their little, hissy fit, walk out, and then get some reasonable
Hmm.
people. I really, maybe I'm huffing hopium right now, but I feel we've reached this peak
Yeah.
where corporations are realizing there's actually not much benefit to all of this like woke marketing they're doing, and it's
Hmm.
having more consequences, like all of these legal cases with over pronoun use, people that are impossible to fire because they'll launch 72 different lawsuits over discrimination at you, causing people. I look at Twitch and they're constantly banning creators, perma banning them, and I'm like, eventually this is going to hit a critical
Hmm.
mass where it's not making sense for business anymore how many people fit in the scope of who's getting banned. Because these people, they are incentivized to find problems, right? You don't
Hmm.
need a gender equity manager if there's no gender problems in the company. So even when they've gotten rid of that rampant sexist that you may have had in one corner of the company, they're going to find more sexism, and they're going to keep finding it until there's no company left because everything was sexist and had to be raised and burned.
Hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. These people, they, I this it's such an exciting moment, because this is I saw this on Twitter. Someone said it wasn't me, but Elon Musk is like the first person to become rich and then do something interesting and fun with his money. Everyone else who's become
Totally.
rich has like immediately sheltered their wealth, and just been super greedy with it and not done anything except for promote their own ego. But when it comes to Elon Musk, he actually seems to be like this altruistic person,
Or
standing up for
fund the
free
status
speech.
quo, right? Like
Yeah,
you do see all
yeah,
these people that are giving money, but it's like to complete status quo
yeah.
things that's getting money from
Hmm.
everyone anyways. No
Hmm.
shaking it up. And I guess because they're
Yeah,
getting rich with the status quo, why would they
yeah,
want to shake it up?
exactly. Exactly. And Elon he just seems to be operating off this completely different value set than most people, which has caused him to, invest tons of money into SpaceX, whether it will
It's
be
that
this
South
sort of,
African in him.
yeah, yeah. I saw that he was the first African American to own a social media company, or he's going to be the first African American to own a social media company, which honestly,
Good for
this is the
African
diversity that
Americans,
we need.
honestly.
Yeah, it's progress at the end of the day.
My favorite writer is African too, as well, actually.
Which writer's that?
J.R.R. Tolkien.
He's African?
He is.
I did not know
Strong
that. I always thought he was
African
British.
orphan man. No, he was born in South Africa. That's what
And
he
then he moved
actually.
to the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
The drawings, I've actually been there. It's near Bloemfontein, I believe, where he grew up. I think he grew up in Bloemfontein. And
Hmm.
there's some hills there that I've driven by, and that's that drawing that's on the front page of the Hobbit
Hmm.
was off of South African landscapes. Also, sorry,
Yeah.
I just got a super chat from Brian Bradford who says, "Do you think Elon would be willing to take my shares of Twitter and other willing donors to then own 51%?" Actually, you made a tweet saying, I've got some investments in Twitter and I'd be
Yeah.
willing. I want to sell at this price. Let the
Yeah.
shareholders vote.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah. I actually
elaborate on
do.
that?
I actually do own some of Twitter. And I bought it. I don't know what the conversion is, because it's a U.S. stock, but I bought it pretty cheap, and I want to sell it for a profit. Twitter hasn't been valued at $54 in maybe years, if ever. I think it has at some point, but it would be a huge spike. Even Twitter, like Goldman Sachs did a review of Twitter and like projected share prices and said what they should hope to be worth and what they are really worth, despite what the market is saying, and they pegged them at like $30. So yeah, $54 for a share of Twitter is hugely generous on the part of Elon Musk. And me, as a shareholder, someone who owns this stock, I want to give it to Elon, and I want him to give me that money. That would be a fair trade. It's my stock. He put the offer out, and the board of directors is going to make a decision based on politics with my money, excuse me, but that's not how this works. And they
Yeah.
have a fiduciary duty to me and other people, like that fellow who commented. It sounds like he owns stock as well. He has the board has a fiduciary duty to put our interests first, not the interests of their staff, not the interests of their users, but mine. That's how this works, and I want to sell, and a
Well,
lot of other people do too.
welcome to capitalism, bitch. Don't like it so
Yeah,
much when it's not
exactly.
working in your favor, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, this. I mean, the staff. It's a tough place to be in because the staff has a lot of equity in the company. Twitter has given a lot of equity to staff members, especially people who have been there for a long time. So they have a lot of say in the company. I obviously don't have like a even close to 1% of the company, but what I do have, I want to sell. The offer was made, and I want to accept it. And they need to not make this decision behind closed doors. They need to have a vote of the shareholders. That's the only fair and equitable way to do this, as these people always like to say. So let's do it. Let's sell, or let's talk about it at least, but be open and transparent.
Yeah. So, speaking of shareholders, there was Al Walid Talal, who is the chairman and board of Kingdom KHC, which I believe, where are they based? Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were tweeting out, I don't believe that the proposed offer by Elon Musk comes close to the intrinsic value of Twitter, given its growth prospects. Being one of the largest and long-term shareholders of Twitter, I reject this offer. Elon responded,
Okay.
interesting. Just 2 questions, if I may. How much of Twitter does the kingdom actually own, directly and indirectly? And what are the kingdom's views on journalistic freedom of speech? And someone responded with an article saying former Twitter employees charged with spying for Saudi Arabia. The Justice Department's charges raised questions about the security of technology companies, which Elon responds with a curious emoji. So
Yep.
he's kind of pinpointing some of these major tech problems and making it obvious that, you know, he's not just going to let a little bit of pushback from these authoritarian, funders and tech giants in Silicon Valley stop him. He's going to keep pushing forward and asking questions that they don't want being freaking asked because stuff like this is happening behind the scenes. You have Saudi Arabia controlling our social media.
They kill journalists who do things that they don't like, and they control our public square. Like, they literally own it. What, like, if people knew, like, if people were aware of the shareholder breakdown of Twitter, which we aren't aware of it, we don't really know how much they own. That's why Elon didn't know. People would be shocked with the people and the tyrants that control our discourse. There's a reason why Xi Jinping, someone who's massacring Muslims at an astonishing rate, who's silencing Hong Kong with violence, with black sites. There's a reason why he's allowed to have Twitter and Donald Trump isn't. Because Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the rest of this crowd represent a different sort of worldview, a disruption. Yeah. And not just the status quo, but the great transition, the great reset, the great change of power from America to China and to the global East. There's it's happening. It's happening slowly, and there's people who want it to happen. And anyone who stands up to fight for the greatness of our Western society and America and Canada and everything else that the world as we know it was built on, they're getting shut down. They're getting canceled. They're getting deleted off of Twitter. By any means necessary, they will see this transition go through, and it's important that we sort of stand up against it as however we can. And we should be grateful that Elon Musk is willing to be that person who's putting billions of dollars. He's walking the walk and talking the talk. He's actually doing what we need to do, putting money and investing it in our freedom. Nobody else is willing to do that.
He spends a lot of time on Twitter also posting memes, so I genuinely wonder how much of this is him like, shit, I'm not going to be allowed to post memes on here unless I buy this company anymore.
It's hilarious how like normal he is, Like more people have spoke to Elon Musk just in person, on Twitter, of course. But also in person. Like if you see his conversations with journalists and fans at press conferences, he's like actually a pretty chill dude. And he also like he's kind of like he has some sort of thing going on, right? Like it's like low. I don't want to call him autistic, but he seems like he
Hey,
has some
autism
sort
is a
of.
superpower, okay? And he's absolutely
Maybe it is.
autistic.
Maybe he is, but like it's like he's so normal compared.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
even
yeah.
Elon Musk with all of his baggage is more normal of a person than Bill Gates. Like Bill Gates is just this robot, this extremely cringe dude, just like Mark Zuckerberg as well. These people
Yeah,
that have
something weird
huge
going
amounts
on
of
there.
wealth just can't be normal. But Elon Musk manages to do it, and I think that's why they hate him.
You can't buy a soul, all right?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up a meme. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. You might have seen it on my Twitter timeline. Okay, sorry, 1 minute, people. It's gonna take me a boomer to get this on screen for you. Okay, so this was Marie Oakes posted this. She reports a lot on Canada,
She's
and I
good.
don't I
She's
don't think
really good.
she's
I like.
Canadian. But this
Is she
is
not?
no, I don't think she is.
Huh.
But this is Musk. CNN Business. Here are the 9 things Elon Musk needs permission to tweet about in the future. Next thing is him laughing. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for 54.20 a share, so it can be transformed as a private company. Like, I genuinely think half of this is Elon. Like, nah, I am willing to die for my shit posting. I am willing to tank Tesla for my my right to shit post.
I wonder what the SEC is going to do about this, because there's been a lot of like speculation that he's just doing this to manipulate the share price and then sell his 9% and get out and say, "Oh, I tried," and then maybe he'll start up another platform later. But really, this is just him to like it's a ploy for him to make money. And I think those like doomers they're like they just can't accept something good finally happening. They've been whipped and beaten so long
Yeah.
that they can't just say, "Okay, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Let's work with it." They
Look at
they
the
just can't
white
handle it.
pills from Keean. I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Usually I'm like the most black-pilled person on the planet, but I'm excited about this. I really like Elon Musk.
So another question I got from one of my Subscribestar members was, what will happen to alternative platforms if Twitter does get transformed to a free speech zone? One thought I had was like, are you going to have all of these like reverse gabs come up? Kind of like when Tumblr, all of these people went and used these alternative sites that had extremely strict censorship so they could be in their safe space. Then they'll create those zones, which makes more sense to me, right? Have one big open space, which is the main one everyone uses, and if you need something else that like particularly caters to your very strange specifications of how conversation should take place, you create that separately from the public square. Like, why if the public square, which is the internet now, especially since politicians have locked us in our damn houses and forced us onto computers for most of our life, if the public square has to appeal to all of the strange specifications of everyone's triggers and things that make them upset, there is no public square. There just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
Yeah,
the question was,
that,
what do you think will happen to alt platforms?
yeah, I think they've struggled a lot, right? Like it has not been an easy thing from Parler to or Parlay or however you pronounce it. Like that is such a bad name even off the get-go. 2 ways to pronounce it.
I find
From
them
that
unusable. Well, those ones,
yeah,
anyways,
it's just
the
terrible.
Twitter replacements.
And like they what they should have done is like taken a flash of Twitter and mirrored it on their platform and gone from there and just started anew. So followers would translate over if they started up an account. They didn't do that. It made it really hard for people, like especially large figures on Twitter, to say goodbye to their 300, 400 million person followings and jump on this struggling platform, because it's actually a hard thing to do. Like for me, at least with the counter signal, posting things on new platforms, every small platform that everyone like 10 people really love, it takes up a lot of your time when you're publishing like 10 news stories a day. So
Yeah.
they've Gab, Parler, it's always been struggling. And if Elon Musk really makes Twitter this great thing where you can publish anything except for like the basic things that everyone agrees on, like don't immediately call for violence, and these very, you don't be a terrorist, these things normally, you can suspend people for that. But if it's this freedom oriented platform where you can be Donald Trump and say whatever you want, even if the deep state doesn't like it, I think these alternative platforms are going to fail inevitably. But who knows if Elon Musk is ever going to do that. I think that there will be an exodus of left-wing people who are butt mad that they're not getting what they want. and they'll try to do the same thing, but those platforms will inevitably fail as well, as Gab and Parler will, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, well, and you need to, the only reason for us to go onto these public squares is to try to convince people that we have the better ideas, especially for elections, whatever it might be. And so many of the alternative websites don't try to reach out at all to the other side of the political spectrum, which is the whole
Yeah.
point of having these online discussions, which is why I, like, when it comes to alt platforms, I prefer ones like Odyssey, who are specifically like they don't pick a side. They're like, we're just, like old YouTube. That's it. Whereas you look at even Trump's Truth Social, half the people I know signing up for it are still in waiting lists, can't get on it, and I don't even think Trump is using it. It's like, come on, guys, let's put
what's the
all our
point?
brain cells together and try to make something good that everyone can use. Like, how is it so hard to conceptualize that we want to, and the best conversations come from being able to engage with all of these different politicians and people who disagree with us? Like, the best parts of Twitter are seeing, big creators get in arguments with other big creators that disagree. It's no fun just seeing all of these like circle jerks. It's it's not interesting.
The massive problem that these alt platforms have is that they bring over the right-wing folks who are upset that whoever flavor of the day was banned, but they're not bringing over the skateboard enthusiasts and the artists and everyone else that makes up Twitter, because there's a huge portion of the platform that is apolitical, but like sort of runs parallel to the political landscape every now and then, and sometimes intersects with it. But if you're not bringing over the bulk of the user base, you're not bringing in ad revenue, you're not bringing in really that many people. While it might seem like politics is everything on Twitter for people like you and me and your viewers, it's actually not. There's a huge chunk of Twitter that we're not seeing.
It's important and it's our interests, but most people don't care about politics, sadly. I mean, actually, maybe that's a good thing, because, if you aren't interested in politics, you shouldn't be commenting on it. So good for them, right? Like, if you don't know, don't comment on it. But
that's what causes like casual leftists, though, right? Because it's so easy to be a leftist if you're not paying attention. So when they're exposed to leftism on Twitter, they just casually agree with it, because and this is why Twitter is such a dangerous thing to our world when they're run by people like are currently running it, like Jack was just years ago. They are exposing these center ground people who are not really political, but like, oh yeah, I can agree that like women have a right to choose, and oh yeah, we should all take the vaccine. That's a great idea. And there's no nuance to it. There's no nuance to the conversation, because they just shove this like whitewashed leftism to them, and it's like the opposite of shadow banning. It's a massive problem, and hopefully that's something that Elon fixes.
Right. Like pushing it. One thing, Twitter was pushing a bunch of gaming content onto my timeline, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, I'd have all of these like suggested tweets constantly, and it was all about Elden Ring. And what I found wild is, when I see all of this political community I'm a part of, both left and right, it's like, big tweets are like, okay, you got like 5,000 retweets or something, right? Like, that's huge. But then all these Elden Ring tweets from random accounts with like 300 followers had like 70,000, 200,000 retweets, likes, shares. And I was like, whoa. Well, I think it's what we were talking about before. Actually, a lot of users on the site aren't political. And it's worthwhile trying to make social media companies that are normal. This is my new arc for 2022. Maybe I'll even start it in 2023. I don't know. Be normal.
Yeah, be normal.
I think it was a terrible thing that we coined the term normie. Like, I get it, and I understand the use of it, but attacking the idea of being normal, I think, was a terrible thing. So many normal people are just like inherently on conservative sides anyways. They're like, this weird leftist stuff they're trying to push in schools, don't know about that, kind of just want to have a barbecue with the friends and family. And sometimes I'll come across people's TikToks, and I'll like go and creep their profiles if they put up a funny video, and there's someone who knows nothing about politics, but they'll be like have 6 kids and be the most like happy normal couple ever, like literally the conservative archetype, but not have any conception that they are the conservative archetype, because they're just living their normal life, not constantly thinking in these dynamics. And if we don't win those people over to anything we're doing, because we're attacking them for being normal, no, Like,
Yeah.
no, just be
It made
normal
me
people.
seriously like that. I totally agree with what you're saying. It made me kind of think that it would be a good idea to like do politics and talk about our ideology and our thoughts on policy in a way that's accessible to people. These live streams are great, but like the way people are getting ideas out now are live stream gaming or live stream gambling. Like it's
Yes.
crazy the way that Zoomers are getting their content these days, and there's a whole market of that that's just waiting to be tapped. And maybe we should just start like Elden Ring streaming or something like that. I don't even
Should
know
we
if it's a
start a
good game.
gaming stream, Keean?
Let's do it. We could play League of Legends. I don't know if League of
Yes, for
Legends is like a
real.
normal thing to play or if it's just me that wastes like literally months of my life on it. But
No, Destiny
um,
literally plays that. He's like one of the biggest leftist political streamers. He plays that like 24 hours a day for months
okay.
and just
Well, I'm like perma stuck on
shitposts
bronze,
left-wing
but I would
ideology.
love to do that. I would love to do that.
I'm
People will
serious.
realize that I just like only play a Lowy top, and it's gonna be bad. But
There is like no one. I was looking into it because I was looking on Twitch, like, okay, conservative gaming channels, anything, and there's so much opportunity, but
mhm,
we've got like 99 problems.
mhm.
One of them is the age demographic of
Yeah,
conservatives. When I was
yeah,
17, I volunteered for my local conservative party. And within a week of volunteering, they had put me on television because they didn't. I was like the only member under 80 years old, and they needed
yeah.
someone
That's the
for a
way it
youth
is.
panel. And I was like, not. I was like, I've never been on television in my life, and I have history class
Hmm.
in the morning. Guess I'm
Hmm.
skipping that to go be a commentator with 30-year-olds. Like that's the.
Yeah,
It was like a panel of 30-year-olds, and they couldn't find someone in that age range except 17-year-old me. So we've got an
yeah.
age problem, and then just a lot of conservatives don't game, which
Yeah, they don't
is
know how to do it. They don't know how to access the content either. Like the vast majority of my readership are not going to be able to find this live stream because they're 40 to 70 years old. So, but maybe that just speaks to the fact that we need to work on our outreach to reach that younger audience and not just let them be used and abused by the left on
yeah.
TikTok. Like if you look at libs of TikTok, which um, rest in peace, by the way, I think they were banned from Twitter.
Oh
Libs of
no,
TikTok. If
really?
we
They're
let,
such a good account.
yeah, I know. They like if you look at what's happening on TikTok, holy God, something needs to change. They like the next generation needs some sort of conservative content that they can access on the platforms that they use, which isn't necessarily Twitter. It's
Yeah.
Twitch, it's TikTok, so that we don't just like let what happened to millennials happen to them.
Yeah. And to be clear, like for the people in my audience and Kean's watching that are, not in the Zoomer demographic, that just watch YouTube and what's accessible, like that completely makes sense. Like you've got your content, you've got what's working, you're able to find where like we've reached you. That's awesome. We're happy about that. What we're talking about is conservatives not making an effort, and conservative people who do what we're doing specifically. Like you guys have real life jobs. You're keeping the country functioning. We're just trying to get the information out there. So like it's our job, it's our
Mhm.
prerogative as I hate the word influencer. Give me a better word here, Kean.
Journalist, I don't know.
Journalists.
God, don't ever call me an influencer
As
for the love of
conservative
God.
journalists. Although I'm not sure you can do journalism while playing League, so we're gonna have to
Yeah,
find
that's
it
the
out.
problem, right? Like, you just got to find a way that it makes it work.
Yeah, so it's on us to reach these people. We can't just complain all day. We definitely have to find solutions for sure. And if that means making the sacrifice of playing League of Legends together, Kean, then that's just what has to happen.
Let's do it. I would be, and I don't even need to play League of Legends. I'd be curious to know like what a popular game would be to play. I'll play it. Like I've done a lot of Kerbal Space Program. It's either Kerbal Space Program or League of Legends. Between the two, I've put probably a year of my life into it. It's sick.
I checked that it was back in the day they had a website where you could check how
Yep.
many hours you put into League of
Yep.
Legends, and there was it was like months. It was
It's
disturbing.
depressing.
It
It's
was really
depressing.
disturbing. But like I'd play every day before high school. It was bad. But
High
that's
school. Holy man, that must have been like season 1.
I played closed beta.
Wow.
I have every skin. I have the King Rammus skin. I have Silver Kale. I have all of them. My account would be worth tens of thousands.
Holy moly.
It was next level. But and people watching this that think I'm a psycho for saying like that I wasted that much time on video games. I saw this meme. Yeah, I can only communicate through memes. It was a picture of the suburbia, and it just said, "Why, yes, my child spends all their time on their computer. What are you talking about?" Question mark. It's like, unfortunately, especially in COVID, what are kids supposed to do? They weren't even allowed to go to the
Mhm.
movies. They couldn't even
Yep.
go and watch screens outside their house for years. So this generation that have come into their, you know, teenagehood, adulthood, not being engaged with the outside world, they've created their own worlds on the computer. And if you want them to create a life outside of that, if you want them to look outside of that, you have to reach them where they're at. You have to speak their
Yeah.
language. So I don't blame them, and I don't really agree with blaming the generations
Yeah,
rather
it's
than
not
the
it's not the generation's fault.
situations.
It's the politicians that put them in situations where they have to be on their computer to see friends, or else they get anxiety. It's like we're not going to change it as much as I would like to. I like the idea, that conservative dream of your kids out playing in the backyard with sticks and stones, but
Mm,
that's just not what's happening right now. And as a result, when we publish news of what's going on and they want to know, a lot of Zoomers do reach out to me on Instagram and TikTok when I was briefly trying that out. They really engage with the content really well, but um, it's just it's hard to relate after
yes.
on like a long term not being a Zoomer. Maybe we just got to hire Zoomers. Actually, I have to say, on your last live stream when we were in wherever the hell that was in Virginia,
Yeah.
mentioned that we needed to hire some people. So many people reached out to me, and I'm sorry if I didn't get back to you. If anyone who's listening in on this sent me an email, but we actually managed to hire 2 people because of that. So I
That's
was very
awesome.
pleased that your viewers are like a very fertile hiring ground. It was great.
My viewers, like the people that tune in, all of y'all watching, they're very engaged. They're very like in it. And I've got like a really good age demographic. I know I've actually got more women as well than a lot of
Mm,
conservative audiences, which is good. I unfortunately, there is an incentive to speak to if you just look at the percentages in your viewership, it's like, okay, so
mhm,
I've got for a lot of conservative channels it is like 99% 40-year-old men, which absolutely 40-year-old men watching this, that just means you're based, right? All of you are
mhm,
based, but then that disincentivizes people to try to reach out to other groups because they're like, oh, this is
mhm.
like the viewer base that I can reach out to the most, right? But men want girlfriends and wives that are sane. They want,
Mhm.
kids that
Yeah.
are sane. All of these demographics and different age groups are people that we engage with on a day-to-day basis and matter in our
Mhm.
civilization. We can't just
Yep.
ignore them because, oh, well, they're not going to hit like and subscribe and up those view counts. Like, absolutely love the people in here that are in like those large demographics that are like killing it, making this channel keep alive, right? Keeping the lights on. But yeah, we want to reach out, put that olive branch to everyone else, and say, join us, join us in the middle of nowhere, homeschooling, escaping
Mhm.
mass
Mhm.
psychosis, and then we'll try to go back and change it and make it better.
It is, yeah. So I don't know if you like have a list of things you want to talk about, but you know what I'm excited for?
Yes, let's hear it.
The World Economic Forum is hosting their annual general meeting in Davos here in about a month, and
Here, wait,
I'm
what do you mean by here? Do you mean Canada?
in Davos.
Okay.
No, it's like a global thing,
Oh, Davos.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I was just looking at booking tickets today. I think that I don't think that they're gonna accredit me as a journalist, but I would love to go. I think that like we need to shine the light on these people, these like reptiles that want to reset our planet with digital
Literal
IDs.
reptiles.
Yeah, like have you seen Klaus Schwab? Like this guy is like we're talking about caricatures. Like he is like this like shocking example of someone who wants to remake the world in his own image, like real satanic shit.
Yeah.
And we need someone there that's not with the CBC to like shine a light on this because they're talking about digital IDs. I don't know if you've dived into what those are. I'm sure your
I think
viewership
they've,
knows.
I've done a little bit of research into like cybersecurity stuff, and I think they've already got them in some northern or eastern European countries. It's like Latvia or something that has
You might
digital
have a
ideas.
digital ID and you don't even know about it.
Don't
I
like
was
that.
actually Yeah,
Don't like that.
they tied in with facial recognition. It's not something that's on your phone necessarily. It's not a QR code as many people are afraid of these days. I don't get me wrong, I hate QR codes, but that's not what a digital ID is. They're locking this stuff in with facial recognition, biometrics, fingerprints. If you've gotten a passport, a recent passport, likelihood is that they have all that biometric information on you, and whether you get a digital ID or not is not up to you. And it's really scary what's going to happen with that data when those losers in Davos decide that, oh yeah, actually all of our subscriber countries like Justin Trudeau and Canada and the United Kingdom and all of them, well, yeah, actually you're going to have to make all of your citizens register for their carbon programming, where if their digital ID has registered too many carbon emissions, well, their car's not going to turn on next month. Or you're not going to be able to buy an airline ticket or get on the bus. It's really like there's
Full
just
on
this climate
social
angle
credit
to it.
system.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
want to this is actually, I've just finished filming a video on this, but one piece of advice that I've been giving people is don't buy cars with computers in them. Like, get older cars. First of all, they're cheaper, which is awesome, easier to fix, more mechanics, but also like computers in cars, and the newer those systems get, they want the ability to be able to hit an off button and everyone's cars stop. No more
Yeah.
trucker convoys, because they're gonna literally off button. Your car won't start for you, right? They've got a tracking device in every car. They will be able to lock into you wherever you are. There is no escaping their oversight. And then the second thing about those digital IDs is a lot of people might think, okay, you know what, they'll be able to scan my picture. Like, you know, I can still like browse online with like Surfshark or a VPN or something. And yes, those are super helpful. Absolutely have a VPN. But digital ID works in a way where it collects data more than just your image, biometrics, all of this. It can actually collect data on how your typing patterns are. So it can detect you based on your typing patterns, kind of like a signature where you can like observe it and look at different, you know, little swirls and squiggles and everything. Everyone types in a unique way. And your phone, it can absolutely collect enough data that they could detect you on a random burner phone in the middle of nowhere based on how fast you type, how you use your fingers, all of that.
The grammar, everything.
Pressure at all. It's wild. Even on a keyboard, how much pressure you put down, it's really, really scary. Yeah, how much control they're going to have.
We need another season of Black Mirror because I'm really stoked to see what happens in the next decade. They were pretty on point with their predictions for this one, but you were right about the cars and the computers. Like, speaking of Elon Musk, but like there's going to be a point in time when we live in Trudeau's and Biden's ideal tyrannical society where you get in your car to go to your friend's place, the seatbelt's going to buckle you in and the doors are going to lock, and it's going to say, oh, you didn't get your 17th booster vaccine this month. You're going to the clinic, and we're rolling down the window for you to get your booster, but you're not going anywhere else until you've subscribed to your medication plan. It's going to be like what they're able to do is terrifying, and we have like a 1% idea of where this is going. Yeah. Their plans are going to be evil, satanic, and should concern everyone. And that's why we need to stop digital IDs from the get-go. Saskatchewan actually scrapped all of their plans. I don't know how many of your viewers are from Canada. Saskatchewan's like the state just above Montana, east of Alberta. They actually
a very
scrapped
based province.
Very based. I don't know what would be like the equivalent American state.
I feel like Alberta is Texas, so I don't know. Maybe Saskatchewan can be Florida. I don't know.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, more like an Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma.
It's plains. I don't know if Oklahoma is plains, but I feel like
I don't know
middle of nowhere, middle America.
Just sounds right. Yeah, so they like completely scrapped all their digital ID plans, which is great for them. But really, what has to happen is the federal government has to scrap and ban them. Like full ban.
Yeah, there's going to be a few outposts in the U.S. You've got like New Hampshire that you can go to. Texas is pretty good, and then in Canada.
Wait, is New Hampshire based? I thought they were not based.
New Hampshire is totally based. Like that's where a lot of people. It's like super libertarian. Like a lot of people are libertarian there.
I just assume like northeastern United States is all like Democrat. That's just like what I think of as a Canadian who knows very little about American politics.
Let me check. I'll Now, I just know like all of the libertarian conventions I've ever
Mhm.
gone to have been like New Hampshire or Mexico. New
That's funny.
Hampshire voting.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not doubting you. I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just like
Oh no, you know what?
imagining in my head.
They did go Democrat in 2020,
Oof,
it looks like. But
that's
it's
a big oof.
close. And I know there's a lot of libertarians in that state.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, probably like rural, um, the rural areas up there are probably
Yeah.
quite like get off my lawn,
Yeah.
Gadsden flag type thing.
Okay, I did have a few super chats here that were interesting. Okay, Julian says, Lauren, you should debate Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks. I want to marry Anna Kasparian. Listen, I can fix her, okay? Don't judge me. I can fix her. She made a tweet the other day in response to Hassan telling him that his takes on crime rehabilitation were bad. And in California, all of the rehabilitation is like leading to more criminals on the street. And I was like, oh my gosh, Anna, we can save you. We can save you. Counterpoints says a lot of young people are looking for adult role models. You can still reach them by playing boomer games like Kerbal Space Program while telling them to get their life together. That's so true. You look at Jordan Peterson, and half of these people are looking for dad figures, not even
Hmm.
like just parasocial friends to game with. They actually like don't have, unfortunately, they don't have parents that are like engaged in their life and raising them. So they're, yeah, looking for like an online dad. You can be people's online dad, Keean.
I'm wearing like the dad shirt too. I could totally rock it. You mentioned the Young Turks. Are you still doing super chats?
I'm gonna read them after. I was just bringing them up if they were like
Okay.
relevant to what we're discussing.
Okay. I I don't know much about the Young Turks. They're like a left-wing media company in the States. Is that the case?
Correct.
Because a journalist from them actually reached out to me today, which I was
Oh,
shocked because I like haven't heard great things about the Young Turks, or I mean I
they're
haven't heard much about.
very left leaning.
But this woman was actually based like she was we
I
the
think they're
counter
getting
signal
annoyed. I think they're getting annoyed with woke stuff. That's why. I'm sorry.
maybe.
Keep going though.
We at the counter signal we've been covering digital IDs. We've been covering the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, all this stuff. She mentioned something that we covered about Dr. Tedros. He's the chair of the World Health Organization, and he used to be a leader of a terrorist government in
Hmm.
Ethiopia. A lot of people don't know
Great
that.
resume.
Yeah, yeah. Like literally terrorist organization, designated terrorist organization. He was leading it as like their foreign minister and minister of health. Totally botched those files. The government killed thousands and thousands of people, and he's like this evil, evil man. And this Ethiopian journalist with the Young Turks reached out to me to say thanks for the coverage that we were doing, which surprised me, and to let me know that there's like a whole bunch of Ethiopians that are protesting in the United States right now. The fact that Dr. Tedros is in this. Dr. Tedros, he's not actually a medical doctor, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know how they are these days. Actually protesting the fact that nobody knows this fellow who has been calling for lockdowns and vaccine laws and really has been culpable for a lot of the problems on par with Dr. Fauci and Dr. Tam in Canada. Nobody seems to know that he's actually closely affiliated with a terrorist organization, and these Ethiopians are pretty furious about it. So I was intrigued to hear that there's actually pretty large protests going on in the States and around the world of Ethiopians in diaspora who are really, really pissed that Dr. Tedros is not being called out by people like Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden, who supposedly support social justice and don't support terrorists, but Dr. Tedros seems to get a pass just because he's the one trying to put shots in everyone's arms.
This is so interesting because I think it ties into this dynamic I always observe where leftists will pretend to be hyper aware of like cultural and civilizational differences, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're so Euro and Western centric, and we need to overcome this," but they
Mhm.
actually only care if you commit a crime, or not even a crime, if you commit some sort of social offense in a Western country. But if you commit freaking genocide in a third world country or somewhere in Africa, I know that's not the terminology we use anymore, but yeah, if you're like, they sleep on that. They
Mhm.
don't care. It's like, oh,
Yep.
you know, yeah, you killed a bunch of people there. There were a bunch of war crimes here. Whatever. Oh, someone said a naughty word, you know, in London at 12 a.m. Well, we've got 70 journalistic stories on that. You know,
And the police better
ha-
bust
own
down
it.
their
Yeah, yeah,
door
yeah.
yesterday.
As long as
Yeah.
you're starting a child army in some Central African country, you're totally fine. But if you're white and have a Twitter account, then they'll care. It's really really bad because obviously it results in what you're talking about, where we're hiring people or promoting people who are complicit in serious crimes, and all of these Ethiopians trying to speak up, not being
Very
heard
serious. Yeah.
because they know
If
it won't
there's
get them the
anything,
clicks.
if there's anything I'd recommend your viewers check out, it would be go to thecountersignal.com to check it out. But because we have all the stories written up there, but do your own research. Check out the Tigray People's Liberation Front. It's the former government of Ethiopia, and Dr. Tedros was
How
a
do you spell
central figure in
Tedros?
it. Tedros.
Okay, easy enough. Yeah.
He was a central figure in that government that was responsible for the mass killings of protesters. Really a terrible person, and the fact that he's leading the UN, the health arm of the United Nations,
Wow.
really is just the most condemning
Director
thing you can ever
General
say
of the
about.
World Health Organization.
Mhm.
Is that who we're talking about
Yep.
here?
Yep.
Oh, this
like-
guy. Yeah. No, I've
There's
seen
a
him on
lot
the news
about
a
him.
bunch.
Yeah, like during the start of the pandemic, when
Yeah, he
the World
was.
Health Organization officially declared it to be a pandemic, that was pretty much when the governments jumped off the start line and started locking people down. He was a lot in the news. He's sort of fallen
Here,
back
wait.
lately, and Dr.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him on
Fauci has
screen
replaced him.
because everyone here is gonna recognize him when I do. It's sorry, let me go full screen for you guys here. But
Like this comment Joe Blow said on your comment stream thing here. He says, "Genocide? What genocide? You violated Twitter terms of service." Very true. Like that's all they care about. They don't care
So
about the fact
true.
that journalists and protesters were massacred in Ethiopia by their government with funding from the United Nations. Like the Ethiopian government was on its last legs, and they had this Ebola issue, so they were getting tons of funding from the World Health Organization while they were in power. And what do they do with this money? Kill everyone. But no, you violated Twitter terms of service. Fuck you.
done. But yeah, this is the guy he's talking about is this dude here. I remember seeing him on TV like every day, or at least in compilations on Twitter of him contradicting himself like 24/7. Doing these announcements. Masks do work. Masks don't work.
Yes.
7 vaccines, no vaccines. This, and it was like wild, the reporting from this guy. But yeah, I remember his face.
Total bullshit all the time. And
How
that's
has it
why
been
people
2 years and I've never heard that he was complicit in like murders? That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been officially labeled a genocide, but like just Google Tigray People's Liberation Front to your viewers. Feel free to do it. You'll see what they've done.
I
It's
wonder
vile.
if it's even
It's
on his
awful.
Wikipedia. I bet they've like
They
scrubbed
scrubbed it. You have to like tie 2 and 2 together, but it's not very clear on Tedros's personal Wikipedia. But if you check out the government he was involved with and do a quick like jump through a few links, you realize, these timelines, this is pretty sketchy. It's like, you were a member of Hitler's government in 1939.
Yeah.
What were you?
I saw a meme like that. Yeah, never ask like a German what their grandpa was
Yeah,
doing
the German
in 1939 or something.
Oh, you work for NASA? Where'd you come from? Oh, you were in Germany just a couple years ago? I wonder what you were doing.
Oh shit. Okay, so it is somewhat on his Wikipedia, although it's like it's in the. Okay, I'm gonna put this on screen because this is really funny. It's in the early life section, early career, his career section.
The career.
And it's the shortest part of his entire Wikipedia page. Like, they literally kept it to, like, sentences. Meanwhile, I know anything controversial about me, they'll, like, do, like, 7 paragraphs of creative writing to build on, like, what is a sentence. So, in 1986, after his first degree, Tedros joined the Ethiopian Ministry of Health as a junior public health expert. Tedros was a member of the, how do you pronounce it? Tigray? Tigray People's Liberation Front, the leading group in a coalition movement known as the Ethiopian People's Revolution Democratic Front, in a successful bid to overthrow Mengistu Haile Mariam. So, like, literally just the most basic facts possible. Oh, they were a leading coalition. Just a cheeky little leading coalition. In 2001, Tedros was appointed head of the Tigray Regional Health Bureau, and in 2003, appointed state minister and held that post for over a year. Okay, so let's do a cheeky little search of the Tigray's People Liberation Front. Um.
I wonder if Canada has officially designated them a terrorist organization. Tigray People's Liberation Front. Yeah, you know it's a positive organization when their logo is like a cross torch and a mallet and a big red circle that looks
Yeah, that's a
super
cute,
USSR.
very cute logo, guys. Love that.
Yeah,
Love
so they're
that
like
for
they're
you.
like this far left ethnic nationalist.
Oh shit, they're designated a terrorist
Yeah,
organization
yeah,
by the
okay.
Ethiopian government. Seems like a little, something that
Seems
maybe
sus.
should have been mentioned in the other guy's bio. I know,
Yeah.
sure as shit, if I were a member for over a year of a terrorist organization, it would be on my Wikipedia page. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Tedros. He's a doctor though, so like all sins forgiven, right? He knows what's up.
I'm
So yeah,
so
there's like this
mad.
full-on war going on right now in Ethiopia. People are pretty upset about it, and it's because of this like ethnic governance that they've been running with in Ethiopia. I've been like diving into like every morning I wake up and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on in Ethiopia? I'm just like, I've been spending way too much time on this, but there's there was a sort of an uprising back in I want to say early 2000s, and that's just when the massacres started. They're like, oh, you're a protester, dead. They just weren't putting up with anything, and that was when Dr. Tedros was. It wasn't just Minister of Health; he was Minister of Foreign Affairs at one point too. So he like they paint him as just this like, ooh, super nice doctor who's just there to cure everyone's Ebola, but like he was not just a doctor there to cure everyone's Ebola. He was there as a senior member of a government that was killing people.
I am so shook because it's literally in plain sight. And like that one reading wasn't even like, okay. Left-wing ethnic nationalist paramilitary group, banned political party, designated terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm.
How did they get away with it? How did they get away with it? Acts of violence. It's so nice. Wow. Yeah. Very good.
They were funded early on because the Tigray People's Liberation Front has been in existence for quite some time, since the USSR actually. That's why their branding looks so similar. They were funded by the communists. They are communists.
Organized Communist Party. Wow.
Yeah, like
it's literally like a QAnon meme.
World.
It's but it's real.
Yeah. Like people are saying like all these conspiracies about what's going on in the world and what globalists are doing, and they're it's communists. The communists are running the world, and they're lizards and whatever. This person is legitimately a commie, legitimately belonged to a government that executed people and protesters and journalists, and he's just chilling on the top job of the health organization and has final say on whether or not we're in an official pandemic or not, which so to carry on with what's going on here, because this is a long story, there's currently a treaty that the World Health Organization is pushing on people, pushing on countries. They want countries to sign on to this treaty that says when there's a pandemic, the World Health Organization gets to assume control of the health response of countries so that there can be a unified global response in the case of COVID 2.0. So they would get control of policy and enforcement and border control of all of these countries that sign on whenever there's a pandemic. And guess who declares the pandemic, Lauren? It would be Dr. Tedros. He unilaterally, with like a council of his cronies, decides when a pandemic is and is not happening. So something gets released from a lab in Ukraine because the United States was, doing whatever they were doing in Ukraine. And boom, there's another pandemic. They say so it's happening. Oh, and now we get control of your borders, your health response, enforcement, lockdowns. Dr. Tedros, the communist who executes people in his own goddamn country, is now in charge of you, your life, and your country. This treaty that is being signed, that they're doing like roundtables on right now, and they will be signing soon, is going to be the new like global compact on migration. People really need to look into what the World Health Organization is doing. It is an evil organization run by an evil man. Bro, and nobody even knows.
Like
nobody
blowing
even knows.
My mind right now. Like you're blowing my mind. I want everyone watching this right now, if you have Twitter, go to I just tweeted about it. Go to Dr. Tedros' page and call him a terrorist. Just like make sure all of his replies are "you're literally a terrorist." I don't care. It is galling that nobody knows this, that we have been listening to this guy for I'm so mad. And I am someone that is in like alternative media. I listen to alternative sources. How has no one talked about this, Keean, except for freaking Counter Signal? Like, you've only been around for what, a year or two?
A year, yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, there's a petition that we have going. We're going to, it's just in particular for Canada, but everyone can sign it. I'm going to post it in the comments. Go there and sign it. And we're going to be forwarding this petition to the World Health Organization, to Justin Trudeau. If Americans start signing it, we'll send it to Joe Biden as well. It's sickening what's going on here. The fact that the mainstream media is complicit in it. The mainstream media doesn't want you to know this. Not just the treaty, but also Dr. Tedros's past. It's really sickening stuff. It makes me sick to my stomach waking up in the morning knowing that I have to report on this because nobody else is. It's not like we have a large reach, Lauren. We reach, maybe 1 million people a month. And it's kind of the same people. We're not CNN. We're not CBC. We need to get this message out there, because if countries start signing on to this, the ramifications over the course of the next decade or 2 decades, should a pandemic come, or when the next pandemic comes, because we all know they've really enjoyed these last couple years, it's going to be really, really, really bad.
Wow. This is okay. I need to go get myself a drink. I stopped drinking on stream, and here we go. Here we go. Thanks, Dr. Tedros.
We had such a fun time at Tim Katz. You seem like you really got into your element when you were
it was
drunk after 2 beers.
Listen, it was for work. I had to be serious about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was fair. Drinking contest for work. All right, I'm gonna run for 1 second after I read this super chat from John Lee, who says, "Thank you for talking about Tedros. Please explain his insanity regarding COVID-19 and prior help from the PRC China to become head of the world.
Oh yes, yeah.
WTO.
Yeah, he was a Chinese plant.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, no, okay. Talk to the chat for 5 seconds. I need a drink before we get into this.
Okay. Yeah, he's a Chinese plant.
No, don't tell them. I want to know.
I have full control of Lauren's stream. I'm very excited about this. Okay, I'm just gonna read some of the comments here, because I want Lauren to know what's going on here when it comes to the his appointment basically by China. China gives a lot of money to the United Nations, so when they want something to happen, it does happen. You'll notice a lot of human rights boards and pretty much every committee in the
Sorry, keep going.
Pretty much any committee in the United Nations, whether it's the World Health Organization, the Human Rights Board, it's all controlled by the people who give the United Nations money, and it's that's China. China gives them a huge amount of money, and they supported his bid to lead the WHO. I can't remember who ran against him, but there was an American that they were pushing, or at least someone supported by the West, and then Tedros was supported by China. And wow, you're really I'm looking at the stream on YouTube, and it's delayed by like 15 seconds. I'm realizing how much you're drinking. This is going to be very exciting.
Listen, shush. Keep going.
Okay, so China wanted Tedros to win because when you dive into Tedros and realize who he is and where he came from, his government, I should say, in Ethiopia was funded by the Soviets, and now the Soviets have in global politics have been replaced by the Chinese communists, and he went from one group of commies to the other, and basically upgraded his job, upgraded his salary, and upgraded his reputation, and China is now just extremely pleased that they have this commie who is willing to do pretty awful things in this position of power.
Understatement of the century.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
He's in this position of power that is growing. Like the strength that his position holds is only going to increase. It's not getting any smaller. People aren't less afraid of pandemics now than they were before. Every time there's a cold and flu running around, he is going to be flexing his muscle. He's going to get more countries signed on to this treaty, and as that happens, when the next big one comes, we will all be at his mercy. Not just his mercy, the mercy of the communists, the Chinese who put him there in that position in the first place, and everyone who subscribes to this communist ideology of lockdowns, forced medical mandates, and frankly, killing dissidents. China's well versed in that. They do that in Hong Kong. They do it to Muslims out west in China, and Tedros is well versed in that as well as what happened in Ethiopia over the last 2 decades.
Jeez. Okay, I'm just like looking at updates on his page, what he's been up to lately, trying to see like his career jumps, where this dude is going. Re-election bid, September 22nd, Germany proposed him for a further term without opposition. He is poised for a second term since no opposing candidate has surfaced for his WHO job. Yeah, honestly, let's get you in there. That's wild. And then the next, the most recent update to his page is Ukraine and White Bias is the title.
Wow.
So this is just going to be great.
Yep.
Regarding the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine following Russia's invasion, he said that the amount donated to aid was significantly larger than other crises in Ethiopia, Yemen, Syria, or Afghanistan, and said this was a result of bias against Black lives. Okay.
Wow.
I mean, he's not wrong that people don't seem to care about wars in Africa, but like, like all of these people that, are really into the Ukraine stuff right now, didn't really care much about other conflicts. But on the same token, he's the one him and his party were the one causing the conflicts in Africa. So like,
sorry, we weren't funding you more so that you could kill more people, Ethiopian Tigray government. Like, this guy is literally a Bond villain, and nobody knows.
Like, you have no right to be sitting here complaining against anti-Black racism. He's like, oh, it's okay. It's like when Black people say, oh, I can say the N-word because I'm Black. He's like, listen, I can murder my own people, but
hey, I am the only one who kills Ethiopians here.
Yeah, that's my job. I've since left for the WHO, and I see other crises happening here. Unacceptable. My job to oppress them. Okay. Oh, well, we've gotten a whack of super chats here. Last time I caught you live was on Timcast. This shot is ready to make me get a drink too. Absolutely, join me because we're jumping down the rabbit hole tonight.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for this information. More like this, please. Excellent. Well, I'm sure we've got more to find out. And then we had Summer Breeze. Is this guy connected to Big Pharma? That's a worthwhile question, and I don't know if you've jumped into that yet, Keean.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's huge pharmaceutical agencies that are growing out of the Ethiopian soil, but maybe there is. I don't know what his connection is past the fact that he's running the global health authority. Maybe he's not a poor man. So I'd be curious to see where his investment portfolio lies. But that's the problem with the World Health, or not just the World Health Organization. That's the problem with the United Nations. They don't have the same sort of accountability processes that most governments do. I mean, Canada's domestic one is terrible. I'm sure the American Freedom of Information program is also terrible. Most of Europe is bad as well. But the United Nations is impossible to get information from. They're the most closed-door organization on the planet, which is strange because they're supposed to be this like great democratic organization. They're not. They hide everything, and there's no reporting requirements for Dr. Tedros. If someone found out his investment portfolio, it would be the story of the decade.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of research here while you're talking. I'm seeing memes. Like there are, yeah, it's so sad. It's just like these smaller accounts mentioning, hey, like people, this guy is liable for thousands of deaths of young Ethiopians. Like, oh, I think that's actually, I'm not sure I can put that on screen. I'm not sure if this guy is talking about the vaccine or his crimes there. Please don't ban me, YouTube. Holy shit.
I didn't
you
see
never
what it
know.
was.
Okay. Wait, we gotta do the thing. We gotta do the thing. Misinformation bad. Listen to government about vaccines. What else is the thing?
Take your vaccine.
God, thank you, Susan Wojcicki. Hail Jack Dorsey. What did I miss? Pfizer. Someone? And Pfizer. Hail Pfizer. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, if you go to Tedros's Wikipedia page.
Not hearing knocks on the door. We should survive.
Yeah. The edit history is just hilarious. It's like, this was added, this was removed, this was added, this was removed.
I love edit history. Okay, yeah, let's check that out. I'd like to see his Ethiopian page, because the pages actually vary depending on where you are. like certain language
Oh wait,
pages and
really?
everything. Yeah,
Oh,
like my pages are really reasonable in places like Brazil. And you go to
I did
like,
not know that.
yeah, yeah.
I don't have a
Um,
Wikipedia page, and I'm pretty proud of that.
yeah,
I hope
honestly,
it never changes
I thought
because
it
I
was
don't want to
so
have to sue
cool.
them when it like. Yeah, it's like one of those things like getting verified on Twitter. It's like, oh, this sounds great, but all I hear are bad things from
Yeah,
people who have Wikipedia pages, and it's like libel central. Like I've looked at yours, pretty fucking bad. And
and there's
as
nothing you can
as
do.
Relevance, Rebel News, all of it is just there. Yeah, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go sit there every night, fucking editing the page? I don't think so. And they'll ban you if you try to edit your own page too. So you can't really do much about it.
Okay, I want to see the edit history of his early career. Like, I want to see if people tried to include this. Um, Oh, and they put a notice. This article must adhere to biographies of living persons policy. That means like you have to use like really high quality sources, and you have to include if someone has rejected claims about them. They don't adhere to this with my page. So why are they allowed to put this on his? This
Yeah,
is
everyone should go edit the
bullshit.
page and link to the Counter Signal content. Just go to
Do it.
thecountersignal.com. We
Do
are a very
it.
credible source. We're a news agency, and we have been the only ones reporting on the truth. Yeah, it's all like reporting vandalism. Okay, what's vandalism? Pointing out the fact that there was a genocide in Ethiopia.
I mean it's really hard. A lot of people that are like decent and actually doing the research, they tend to get banned as editors on Wikipedia. Like there was a
Hmm.
really good guy. He edited under the name Devil's Advocate, and he does writing for Breitbart now. And they took away his ability to be an editor because
Hmm.
he was correcting all of these conservative pages that were being trashed.
Hmm.
And they had no good reason for it. There's a few good Breitbart pieces on it. Okay, how do I go to the edit history? Can you guide me
Top
through this
top
woman
right of the
moment?
page.
I can see view history. Um,
The
but
stream is
it's
delayed for me for like 15 seconds, so I can't really see what you're looking at. But it's in the
okay.
top. It
Yeah,
just
I'm
says
okay. So
edit
I
history
see
or view history.
revision. I can see revision history. I've got it up there.
I'm back in like November 2021. But all of the good, like, if I could get actually, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna go to the Wikipedia page, get the URL, and see what this Wikipedia page looked like pre-pandemic.
Clarify that Tedros' membership to the TPLF was historic rather than current.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he used to be a commie.
Remove biologist.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like, oh, okay.
Biologist? Are you sure?
What
Yeah.
was his
See, all
actual
of these
degree? It was
things.
like public health management or something like that. Like he's not a doctor. Like he's not a doctor like a dentist
He's
or
got
a
a
vet or a medical doctor. He's like a
yeah.
PhD kind of
Let's
guy.
check out his. Okay, so he has a PhD because it just said degree, but that may have just been his early life. So let's see, education.
What page do you use typically for Internet Archives? Is the Wayback Machine like the
I use
go-to for
both because
you? Or?
I use Wayback and archive.is or whatever it is. I use them
Okay.
both because sometimes one will have things that the other doesn't. But yeah, go and look at
Okay, it was saved in 2014 and then nothing until the pandemic hit. Oh, this is good.
is
Okay.
that
This
on Wayback Machine? I'll bring it
yeah,
up on mine. Okay.
it's back when he was Minister of Foreign Affairs, incumbent. Boo.
Interesting. I wonder why someone would
This is
save it
all
then.
gone. Why is this gone? Like, is this not relevant anymore? The Wikipedia page wasn't particularly long.
You said,
Like,
oh,
there's
I
much
can
I've
see
seen
these
much.
saves in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, go to that
January
and then it'll.
25th. 2 saves, then nothing for like 5 years.
Yeah, seems
Interesting.
kind of sus.
Okay. Let's look at this Wayback Machine article, guys. Um, sorry, 1 minute. Tedros, I'm not even, how do you pronounce his last name? I'm gonna let you have a try at
Tedros
that.
Adhanom Ghebreyesus.
Adhamanimina.
Yeah, head of the Tigray Regional Health Bureau.
Joined Ministry of Health.
Wow, this reads like a propaganda piece. Like he's been on top of his
It
public
doesn't
image for a
even
long time.
it doesn't even mention the party or that terrorist organization here, or at least not from what I'm looking at. Can you see it?
No, yeah, I'm not seeing.
Very interesting. Or was he a part of it in 2014? No, I think it was later actually. That's why. So wait, let's see. When did he join the terrorist org?
Political party, Ethiopian People's
No, because he
Revolutionary
was appointed the
Democratic
head
Front.
in 2001.
Yeah, so it says personal details. Born 1965. Political party, Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front.
Also
Other
under a
political
different name.
affiliations, Tigrayan People's Liberation Front. That's the terrorist organization.
Okay, yeah, I can see it like down in the corner of his personal details.
Yeah.
Religion,
Like
Ethiopian
this, and this goes to
Orthodoxy.
what you're saying though. Like, why is this not a headline?
Yeah.
Why is
Yeah,
this
this
not
is
known?
very strange. Very strange indeed. You just know. You know. None of that would slip by if this were some right-wing talking head. None of it. Even if it were like a completely irrelevant talking head.
Yeah.
Pat King is trending right now, who we were
Oh,
just
no.
talking about earlier in this stream.
Oh God.
Bail review adjourned again.
Yeah, I hopefully he. I don't know. I don't really know much about him outside of that he made it very difficult to report factual information because a lot of people were misled by things that he said in court cases that he was involved in, which just sort of frustrated me a lot as a journalist and someone who's a conservative journalist and tries to like counteract the mainstream media narrative. But when people do that either deliberately or accidentally, it causes huge numbers of people to go off on the wrong track. It's frustrating.
Okay, I'm gonna go and see a few of the topics brought up in the super chats here. Jordan Caramel says, I don't know if I pronounced your name right. I need to stop clarifying that. I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Lauren, what are your thoughts on nationalism, especially the rise of populist parties in Europe like the AFD, Eric Zemmour in France, and the Brothers of Italy? I've been following the France election a bit, but from my understanding, Zemmour's got some great things to say, but I don't think he has a shot of winning over Le Pen. I think Le Pen is got that pretty much like 4 right-wing parties anyways in the lead there against Macron. I don't. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I clicked the earliest screenshot of it
There's
after
one
the
before.
pandemic. So the earliest
okay.
one in March 25th, 2020.
Let me check that out.
And there's a whole section that says criticism and scandal. Strangely, that has been entirely redacted. But it says in May 2017, just prior to the WHO election, stories surfaced about an alleged cover-up of 3 possible cholera epidemics in Ethiopia in 2006, 2009, 2011. The outbreaks were allegedly wrongly labeled as acute watery diarrhea, a symptom of cholera, in the absence of laboratory confirmation. So it sounds like he was trying to downplay a pandemic in his own country while he was Minister of Health so that he didn't get bad press just prior to him being elected the leader of the WHO. So this man was never truthful about pandemics, the spread of disease, epidemics, and now he's running the Global Pandemic Authority.
So wait, and this wasn't even like, this was like New York Times reporting.
Yeah.
So this should be super relevant. How has this just been scrubbed from his page? Dude, Wikipedia is like incredibly like lizard people bullshit. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How can you just like disappear? I made a video on this a while ago called Saints for Sale. I think that was the name, but you can literally just buy your reputation. If you're rich enough, you can just buy your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Or as long as you're saying the right things, they'll just, yep, that never happened. Bye-bye.
Oh, this is all like coming back to me. When I was with Rebel, this was like my beat. At the start of the pandemic, I was on this. And I forgot he was actually really good friends with President Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe. He was actually appointed by him as a goodwill ambassador to help tackle non-communicable diseases. Yeah, it's like this like patronage appointment of communist
Yeah.
to communist to the United Nations for.
It's almost stuff you can't even talk about because people think you're making it up. Like
Yeah.
that's why it doesn't
Yeah.
end up a news story. Like there's so
Yeah.
much stuff where like I'll just be sitting there and a friend of mine who's like beautifully normal will look at me and be like, "What are you thinking about, Lauren?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Like,
You just have to.
don't worry
You
about
just
it.
have to like hide that you know these
And I'm
things.
like, the global communists are controlling our health. No.
Yeah, it is the global like it's this like cabal, and I hate using that word because it it sounds
Everyone
like a
thinks
conspiracy,
you're saying,
but
something like that.
Tedros, Robert Mugabe, the USSR, the Chi-Coms, Xi Jinping, they're all working together to control the World Health Organization and organizations that are parallel to the United Nations. And then they're using these positions to leverage treaties onto countries with weak liberal leaders like Justin Trudeau, who will obviously sign them. It's like modern imperialism. It's modern colonization by different means. They're not pouring, they're not sending
it's like
troops to our shores.
Machiavellian, gray
Yeah.
zone. I hate it. I prefer someone to just punch me in the face rather than stab me in the back, right? Like I'd rather you just say something shitty to me rather than playing all of these like mind games. But unfortunately, such as politics today, it's all got to be.
It says here that Tedros was a big fan of Zimbabwe's healthcare. He says that Zimbabwe was, quote, a country that places universal health coverage and health promotion at the center of its policies to provide healthcare to all. That sounds just really touching. It makes it seem like Zimbabwe was just this really great place that wasn't drowning its people in hyperinflation, and maybe I won't go
People
too
literally
deep into
fleeing.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah. We don't talk about Zimbabwe.
Yeah, it wasn't a great place. It wasn't a place where healthcare was abundant. That people weren't getting state-of-the-art cancer surgery in Zimbabwe, and Dr. Tedros gaslighting the West into thinking that it was this great place. It's just the biggest farce.
Well, here's like half the problem, right? Is everyone in Africa, if you ask the average person on the street in like most African countries, I mean, like from my understanding, like Nigeria is doing a little better and stuff, but if you ask people on the street, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, our governments are unbelievably corrupt, like disgustingly corrupt." Like, please say, like they will be so honest about it. But because all of these like global organizations, the WHO, I was about to say the NWO, no, United Nations, they all have to be like inclusive. Like we have to include everyone, and it's almost like a group assignment in school. It's like, well, we don't want to make people feel not included. Like we have to give this person one part of the assignment, but like when you're in school and you want to get a good grade, if you know someone in your class is like not going to do well, or like they're going to go out and get wasted at a party and not finish their part, you're going to say, "Okay, you're going to color in the logo on our assignment," right? That's your job, and everyone else will do the serious work. But for some reason, it seems the World Health Organization and all of these other places, they don't take that approach. They're like, everyone needs to have equal responsibility, and they will give equal responsibility to these massively corrupt countries. And then what happens is you have the United Nations peacekeepers sending like I think it was like Somali peacekeeper soldiers that end up setting up brothels in the countries that they're trying to save from human trafficking, like raping kids to trade food that they need because they're starving. And they have all of these problems because they're giving too much responsibility to countries that are like insanely corrupt, but they don't want to admit the levels of corruption in them because I don't know, they just want to.
Because they're profiting off of it. They're profiting
that
off
too.
And China is one country, India's another, but China is a big culprit of this. They corrupt their politicians, put them in high-profile positions in global organizations like the World Health Organization, the United Nations, all of these cabals. But then they also put insane amounts of money into these countries and leverage their debt so that they can control the good politicians and the bad. And once they're in crippling debt, then China calls the loan and controls all of their airports and controls all of their libraries and their banks. And then it is just an African Chinese vassal state.
And China's like really invested in Africa right now. That's a thing that a lot of people don't understand. Like they're doing their one belt, one road policy through there, where they basically want to be able to they've got like massive amounts of Chinese soldiers all throughout Africa, wanting to enforce their global trade routes that are uninhibited by any Western powers. So they're like buying up all this land, through the Middle East, through Africa, all the way to Europe, but having trouble. They're even getting some of these trade deals in places like Australia. It's pretty wild. Okay.
Did you hear that? Speaking of Australia in that area, maybe I'm hijacking your stream, but
No.
New Zealand just approved extradition to China. So if China convicts you of something or wants to haul you before one of their sham kangaroo courts, no pun intended,
they'll extradite you there.
They will extradite you. That Jacinda Ardern,
R.I.P.
the female Trudeau,
no kidding.
will just put you in a crate and send you to a black site just outside of Beijing. Like it's shocking that and New Zealand is part of Five Eyes. Like they're a close ally of Canada and the United States and Australia. They are intertwined in our intelligence agencies, and they are bought and paid for by China. We say that China's buying Africa, and they are, but they're also manipulating the West, especially the weak states like New Zealand, run by weak losers like Jacinda Ardern. Justin Trudeau's next. He's not much more competent than that woman.
Yeah. Jeez. And if you look at, there's a really good book. It's called Silent Invasion. It's by an Australian professor. I think he's either from Canberra or Sydney, but he's liberal, like very left wing, but he's written a book all on the Chinese ownership and, essentially slow invasion of China through gray zone warfare into places like Australia and New Zealand, where if you don't know what gray zone warfare is, it's like everything up to the point of actual like physical contact warfare. Yep. So, buying out political parties, manipulating elections, their actions
on your defense minister so that he shows up at the Communist Party. Maybe I'm getting too close to a defamation lawsuit again, but they use compromat. They use everything they can to corrupt your politicians so that they show up. They install their politicians in your Senate. Look up Canadian Chinese senators, and you'll be interested to learn a lot about them and how pro-China they are, pro-communist China they are, how pro Xi Jinping they are. It's not bullets and bombs. It's politics, paper, and policy that they're doing to manipulate us, to control our banks, to control our political discourse, what's allowed to be said. The very fact that Saudi Arabia owns a big chunk of Twitter should tee you off. I wonder how much is owned by China as well. They I want to say wake up, we need to really wake up to what's going on in this country. And if we don't, and not just this country, on this planet, if we don't, we are screwed.
Well, and China want to keep it the way it is right now too. Like an actual physical engagement wouldn't be good for them, because right now, like I'd say within the next 10 years, if there were like a physical war between the West and China, like the West may still have a shot of winning, but after that, China's just on the upward. They're up on that arc. We're slowly collapsing in on ourselves. Our militaries are getting weaker. Our governments are getting weaker. Our dollar's getting weaker, and they're moving up in the world. So they want it to keep with gray zone warfare. I partially, part of me in my brain, it's like, oh man, you probably got neocons trying to plan some artificial like, ooh, that ship got hit. Now we have to have a war because they're ticking the clock in their head. Like if this keeps going on much longer, we're not going to win an engagement. And I think that's part of the reason Putin probably tried to logic his way into invading Ukraine. Obviously wrong, relax people. But he was like, if NATO come in here and start building up bases, we're going to have a limited amount of time to conduct an invasion, to have control of this region before it's going to be too difficult for us to go in and control it. And I think the West are having those conversations with themselves right now over China's getting more powerful. And if there isn't some sort of physical engagement within the next however long, we're just a dying power.
Yeah.
That's real black pill stuff, because it means
the
end of the collapse of the West or mass warfare, where we all have not a very good time.
A very bad time.
Not a fun time. You know, if I had a choice, I'd probably, maybe stay home and watch some
Yeah.
Netflix instead, not go to that party.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
most black pill moment that you've ever had, Keean?
Oh, good question. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you. I just gotta like think of. Oh, you know what it was? I'd flown. I'd flown out to a anti-abortion protest in. Uh, I forget which state it was in. I think it was maybe in Philadelphia. I was covering it, and it was just like all of the the pro-life people in America were going there to protest, and I thought, oh yeah, Americans, they're the pro-life people. This is gonna be great. And as they protested, I was shocked to see the lineup of women waiting for an abortion in Philadelphia as there was this massive protest planned at the Planned Parenthood. I didn't realize that's like the scale of the abortion crisis in the United States. I don't know where your viewers stand on abortion, and I don't
Very
really
conservative, typically.
yeah. I mean, I just did not realize it was such a big problem. And when I realized, like when I saw a lineup of women waiting to literally execute their fetus, I was like, I was I went back to my hotel that day and I was shook, as the liberals say, because I thought maybe it was a rare occasion. Maybe I was just really young and naive, but the scale and magnitude of the abortion crisis in America, that's probably my biggest black pill moment, when I realized that even though there was this protest there, it's almost like the women were coming there to like flip off those protesters to wait in line to get their abortion, and it made me think that they were killing their kids to spite protesters, which like I, I couldn't even comprehend it. It was this next level of evil liberalism, evil left wing Satanism that just like shook me to my core. That's biggest black pill moment ever. I realized it was a lost cause.
Don't say that. Don't say
maybe,
it's a lost
maybe it's
cause.
not. I don't know. It was a bad day for me. I just could not believe my
Yeah,
eyes.
no, I don't blame you.
In Canada, they kind of hide it. It's they either you're not allowed to protest it. Rachel Notley made sure of that. Actually, you're not allowed to protest abortion near abortion clinics in Canada, or at least in Alberta. I don't know what the case is in BC, but so they've managed to hide it and cover it up. I don't know the scale of it in Canada, but boy, in the States, in Philadelphia on that day, it was bad.
I've got a documentary that I've been working on, and it's gonna come out eventually. It's been a long time coming. But we interview a doctor who talks about how, a lot of the women's liberation, the problem with it is it's actually become sex with no consequences for men. I mean, beyond rape claims and stuff, which obviously really, really suck. But the lack of consequences, like it's, women are off getting these abortions or being left single mothers and all these things, dealing with that. And he's like, any ideology that has to be based on a pile of corpses to keep it going, like this liberation is based on, women, they have to keep up with men, they have to be childless, right? Because it's hard to keep your career going when you've got a kid. Like, I'm going to shut off this stream and I'm going to be going and hanging out with my son and all of that. So I can't work like, crazy hours like a lot of people in this business, which is, I still absolutely love it. Like the best blessing in the world. My husband and I love having a kid, but it's a lot. And the only way to ensure that women would be able to like keep up to that level with men was to have easy access to, first it was birth control, which is obviously way better than abortion. But the fact that there's still so much reliance on abortion, still so much reliance on, killing kids and not having kids, who I think kids are very good for your soul. They teach you a lot of selflessness. That's not sustainable morally, in my opinion.
This has been a wild stream. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we do have to. I know it's getting super late there, so we do have to wrap up in a minute. Okay, wait, before we wrap up, I want to tell you a theory. Are you religious?
I mean, like passively, yeah.
Passively.
Yeah.
What does
I wouldn't
that
say
mean?
I'm not like I quit
Powder in
having
your
time
face.
to go to church after I graduated.
That's like so
High
that
school.
if you look at data, post like graduation is the biggest, and moving out of people's like parents' house and stuff is the biggest downturn for church attendance. I think part of that is like a lot of churches don't prepare kids for like very basic questions when they get to university that are like, hey, what are you going to do if your parents go to hell? Like, you're really going to be able to live in heaven without your family? Like, what? And then they just like crumble and they're like, I give up on my faith because they never had like catechism in a lot of Protestant churches. So there's that. But yeah, that's very common. Anyways, I've been thinking about this a lot. Oh, I need to get off stream this vodka.
That's what it is.
I've been having this thought about, like, I feel like the Tower of Babel is partially like an allegory for our experience online right now. Like, we all think we are so smart and we can solve the world's political problems, all of these crises we're facing. Like me, my ideology, my communism or fascism or whatever I've come up with or concocted in my brain, that is going to solve all of this. Whatever, crazy tax I can put down, whatever crazy article I can write, I am going to change politics. I am going to save humanity. And like, this is our Tower of Babel we're building, where we are gods that can solve all of mankind's problems and build this intellectual tower, so to speak, through debate bro culture, and win and conquer, get to the heavens through this. But we can't, because we're humans, and only God can do that. Only God can forgive us of our sins and give us that love and ability to forgive each other, communicate, like work with one another. Like, we need that in our lives. And because we've abandoned that and are focusing on our own intellect to build to the heavens, we're talking past each other. And that's like the language aspect of the Tower of Babel. Suddenly they all spoke different tongues and couldn't communicate or work together anymore, and the whole thing collapsed and failed. And that's us in politics. We all think we've got the best ideology that is going to fucking save us from all of this horrible human corruption. And we're all and result in talking past each other and arguing and devolving more and more and more as a result, because we're missing the one piece necessary, which is God, in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, we could certainly all use a little more grace in our lives, but maybe we'll have like a religious stream next where we can dive into it.
I'll let you go.
Let's do this again. I gotta get a better camera. I'm gonna get a whole studio set up eventually, and I gotta get. It looks like
the room is like eating you.
Yeah, this is the Discord. I saw someone comment this. The Discord blur is just terrible. But like, as you said at the start of the stream, I didn't make my bed, so I had to do it. But I'll have like a studio soon. I'll have a better camera setup. Your camera's so clear compared to mine, and I'll get like some better lighting.
I can help you set up if you want, like show you how to do this. And for sure.
Yeah,
and so that we can play League together. That's important.
It's like we're gonna have a League empire. Okay, I'm very excited for this. We'll just be able to ship post online and stream and also gamble. There's some pretty good gambling streams. I don't know if you've seen them. I like blew way too much money on this online crypto casino just like a couple days ago. It's really addicting, but it's really fun because you could just like mindlessly do it while talking about pretty stupid things. So it's good.
I have my vices. Gambling has never been one, but I guess
you gotta try it. The slot machines are just it's literally this like psychologic thing that's going on in your head. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Keean, did you have anything you wanted to shout out before you jump off this stream?
Yeah, go to conservativecoverage.ca to check out our coverage on Pierre Poilievre and Leslyn Lewis and everything that's going on with the Conservative Party Canada. Otherwise, go to thecountersignal.com, and there's a little link for our petitions. And the top one is Stop the Treaty. Canada and every other country on this planet needs to say no to Dr. Tedros, this communist who is running the World Health Organization, who's trying to take control of your country's health response whenever he decides it's a pandemic crisis like we've never seen before. It will get worse. It will get bad when the next big one comes. So sign that petition if you can. It's at thecountersignal.com. I'll send the link again in the chat. And oh no, that's Tedros's Wikipedia page.
Also a good thing to go edit for you all. But yeah, Countersignal link is below this video in the description as well. So thank you so much for joining, Keean. We will 100% do this again. This is very refreshing compared to my last Thursday, or Thursdays. All of my Thursdays, I've been like debating people on the opposite side of the spectrum. So it was nice to have like a friendly conversation.
There we go. Yeah.
Although you still stressed me out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lauren.
Sure. Bye, Keean. Oh, there he goes. Uh-oh. Let's see if I can sort this. There we go. Back on camera. Keean's a legend. He's one of my favorite people in this political sphere. Like, I've obviously... if you follow my channel, you know I've been in politics a long time. I've met a lot of people. And I got to a point in like 2018, I think, when I did a video where I announced I was only doing documentaries, because I'd met so many of the people in the political sphere and they were absolute psychos, even in conservative politics, like just out there for the money, out there for themselves. And I was like, I cannot. I hate everyone. I don't want to talk to any of you. I just want to make documentaries and do what I think is right for politics. But y'all are crazy. You're insane. And since I've come back, I've been way more discerning with the people I hang out with and talk with. And Keean's a good egg. Like he's a good guy. So, you know, if you want my stamp of approval, he's definitely got it. All right. Let's check out the super chats that I missed, and wrap up with a little more chill conversation or anything you guys want to bring up. All right. Oh, wow. Okay. Justin Reamer was the first super chat that I missed. I'm glad you're not debating a psychopath tonight. It's actually pretty cool. Love the show, Lauren. Brittany says hello. Hello, Brittany. Marin Anguish says, interesting poll of people shown his launch video without spin. Interesting poll of people who were just shown Pierre's launch video from Abacus, by the way. Okay, I guess that's polling on their people's opinion on Pierre with and without mainstream media spin would be very different for sure. Prodigal Heel says, I have met Elon before in the second most awkward moment of my life. That sucks. That's rough. Brian Bradford, do you think Elon... Okay, we discussed that one. Thunderstorm says, Klaus Schwab's fourth industrial revolution. Covert AI, the word COVID means covert. The fourth industrial revolution is actually an interesting thing to read into. I would recommend. Jab Slant says, day one of pestering you till you go on Sitch and Adam. I know, I really need to respond. He sent me a DM. We need to arrange it. I've been so busy. I've been ignoring calls from people. If you're someone that's called me, I've had a few shows call me recently and I'm just like, I can't. I'm so busy. Julian. Hey, Lauren. Oh, we discussed Anna. Sartorius Rock says, soon to be a New Hampshire resident here. They're libertarian now, but MA is infecting them. Yeah, I figured they were libertarian. That's what I recall from my time there. Clef the Misfit also says, New Hampshire has a movement called the Free State Project, I've heard of them, to get libertarians to move there and take it over. So far, 100,000 people have. New Hampshire is mixed politically right now, but getting redder because of it. Yes, that's where I got this idea from. Answered a few of these. Morning, Lauren and my fellow listeners, says Kjitiz Benzia. Counterpoints, but you guys, authoritarian communism is right-wing. Read theory. That is a left-wing claim right now. Pretty wild. Okay, Julian says, tune into the Alex Jones show, Lauren. Seriously, the insights are invaluable. In particular, seek his free documentary, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. I cannot stress enough the significance. I have not watched his documentary yet. I need to do that. I need to watch more alternative documentaries, obviously. Making alternative documentaries myself, that would be important. So that's something I've got to find time for in my busy schedule. All right, John Lee says, Hollywood mainstream media became political during the first Bill Clinton campaign. Then Bill Clinton ignored the genocide of religious Chinese political dissidents to help China enter the WTO. Possible connection to today, ? I'm going to have to look into all this. There's a bunch of sus stuff going on here that clearly has not been getting reported on. Would be wise to do a doc on the Great Reset, Julian says. I'm actually doing a debate on the Great Reset with Destiny is on the other side with another big lefty. I don't know his name. And then I'll be with James Lindsay. That'll be on the 23rd or 4th, I believe. Thunderstorm says they want to build a deep water port in South Central Australia and store 138,000 tons of high-level nuclear waste. Wow, sounds healthy. Sounds great. Crash Mundo, thanks for the quality content, Lauren. I do my best. All right, last two here. Joe Carlson, thank you for the donation. And Alan G, please have Keean on more often, maybe once monthly. Great conversation. Keep it up, Lauren. All right, little spoiler alert. Keean and I have discussed how, having a show together, starting something for a while. So maybe we really do need to get this going, even though we're not in the same city where we could have a studio together. It would be very fun to do a show with Keean, even if it is just playing video games. All right, let's see. Any last comments? Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, don't think I did. What's everyone in the chat talking about? Wow, now that will be something to watch. Keean and I's show. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but yes, Keean and I's show, if we do it, will be something to watch. It will be lit, so to speak. Look at me, already learning the Gen Z terminology to win over our new audience. All right, listen. My Gen Xers in the chat. You are a powerful generation. You share that content. You like that content. You pay attention. My boomers, you're like the only thing financially keeping right-wing movements alive. We appreciate you. My millennials, you've done a lot of damage, but you're doing your best as well. Gen Z, we have to go rescue them. It's our duty. All right? All of these generations, we've done some bad damage to them. We owe it to Gen Zers to save them, okay? We got to find solutions here. And if it means I have to say the word lit casually in conversations, well, we're just going to have to make that sacrifice, okay? All right, I should probably head out, return to the real world. But it was absolutely wonderful talking to you all. A bit disturbing, the discoveries we made on this stream. I will be live every Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, except perhaps this upcoming Thursday, because I think I'll be at the conference. But I'll see if actually, I will be live this upcoming Thursday, just not on my channel, okay? But every Thursday night is typically going to be the schedule for here on this channel live. And I will keep you posted what's going on next Thursday and the Thursday after that and the Thursday after that. Also, Counterpoints just commented, I'll take it on you easy tonight. I won't ask you to debate that misinfo for good stuff comment you tagged me in. Counterpoints, I actually wanted to invite you on with my friend Evelyn Ray to have a police officers night on stream where we have a bit of a debate over, you know, some contentious issues the two of you may disagree on. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. I'd love to have you on with Evelyn. I know the chat here love Evelyn too. She's good people. Good people. Also one of the good eggs that I've found in this wacky political world. All right, I'm using the word wacky. I'm only 26. It's time for me to go to bed. I appreciate you all so much. Thanks to those who donated. Thanks to those who have just been commenting and engaging. I will see you all